I'll make sure to share my screen whenever somebody needs an attachment shown off the agenda, just so you know.
Yeah, thank you. Ashley told me that, and I really appreciate that. It's like one less thing to worry about. So
yeah, it is a lot.
yeah, thank you.
Hey everyone, I don't know if you guys can hear me yet, but I did get an email from Neil. He's not going to be at the meeting. I don't know if he copied anyone else.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Somebody let me know. Okay, so I take it nobody can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, if anybody talked, I cannot hear them. So if I'm going to run the meeting, that's not going to work.
I can hear you, Paul.
Okay. Yeah, I can't hear you guys. I can see your lips moving. I can't hear you. I'm going to go out and try and come back in, see if that makes any difference. Okay, could somebody say something? No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you.
Hi.
Okay, I think we can, 12:02, I think we can go ahead and get started. I don't know if anybody heard me mention it earlier, but Neil called or sent me an email this morning saying he's going to be, he will not attend the meeting today. So just going to move ahead without him. And I had to chase down an agenda here. And I just lost it. And if I knew what was on the agenda, I'd tell you what we're going to do next.
Okay, I'll share my screen, Paul.
Thank you. Great, thank you. So call the meeting to order at 12:03, and we'll go roll call. If staff would do that, please.
I'm Brian Hensel, Deputy Public Works Director for Streets.
Does it, I'm not gonna do a roll call. Is that something I should be doing.
No,
Okay.
Bella, could you do roll call, please?
Yep, of course. All right. Neil Carson, Paul Filicetti,
Here.
Pat McHugh, Kim Seeberger,
Here.
Ashley Hunter.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like Jeremy's just trying to get on it now. I'm going to skip the, do we have a quorum? Sorry.
We do. Yeah.
So approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes? Perhaps we could pull those up.
But we approved the minutes from last month. Did you guys, I had moved to approve the minutes from last month.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Anyone want a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Ashley. So all those in favor of the approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Thank you very much. Those minutes are approved. Next on the agenda is public comments for items not on the agenda. If there's any public who's like to join in the conversation, now's an opportunity for you to jump in. Those phone numbers are on the screen right now. Okay. And staff, do you see anybody out there that is trying to get in?
No, no public.
Okay. Right. Thank you. We'll move on then. Item 5 is financials. Turn it over to Katie.
Okay. So budget update, everything got approved a couple weeks ago during city council. So I'm just working with Krista and Brett so we can kind of get the ball rolling on the architect services that'll have to go out into an RFQ for the public, and then doing a limited solicitation for the metal building that we need to put up.
Yeah.
Any questions about that stuff?
Just could you, maybe I missed something. Could you explain what the metal building is you're talking about?
Brett, do that.
It's the storage facility that the one that we have down at the bolt end is failing miserably, and so we put a CIP request in for a new one.
Okay. Thank you. Looks like did you want to do, okay, so that's our 2022 update.
Yep, that is it.
Okay, thank you. And then Brett, do you want to talk about FY 2021 year end?
Sure. Did you all have a chance to go over this? That email that Chris has sent out? So we had $20,178 in niche sales, and we had $1,040 in donations. We had 37 grape sales for a revenue of $25,799. We had 11 second interment for $4,695. 23 casket interments for $12,275. 26 cremation interments for $9,674. 2 overtime fees for $952. We sold a combination of 50 liners with volleyball through access fees for $19,318. We had 1 disinterment for $312. 14 monument cleanings for $2,080. 36 monument permits. Cost to the city was $5,365.50. And the foundation for the cemetery was $5,422.50. We had 73 flower beds this year for $3,476. 56 flower boxes for $3,635. 12 months of rent for $3,817. 2 late fees of flower care for $55, and 1 sale of a fixed asset, which was an old loader that we had taken to auction that we got $12,415 of, for a grand total of $134,309.50. We finished the year with 63 internments.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Okay. Hearing none, we can move on.
This is where we finished out the year at with all of our budgeting. Does anybody have any questions on any of these?
So one thing I would like to mention is notice the surplus of $62,395 that we're showing as remaining budget. Some of that was due to a personnel fund a refund, basically. Carissa, can you jump in and give more explanation on that?
Yeah, definitely. So the city did an increase last year, and it wasn't retroactively added to our budget until the very end of FY21. So going throughout most of the year, we thought our salaries and wages was around 414,000, and then at the very end, that number increased. So we actually ended up having more revenue left over than we expected.
Thank you. And I guess, Paul, I wanted to talk about that was, remember we used the vacancy savings to buy the new well pump and then the chipper in our personnel budget. Well, that additional 30,000 had not come into our budget, so we were not aware that was coming until after the fact. So that's why that's in there. Any questions on any of that? All right. So is this where we are currently, Carissa?
This is at the end of FY21.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have an August balance stock too after this.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions here from anyone? I just have one question. Where is the cost for, in 2021, did we pay the fee to the consultant for the strategic plan in 2021? Or was that in out of our 2020 budget? I don't recall.
That was either in the 2019 or 2020 budget, I believe.
That came out of? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we can move on from there. New business. Oh, I'm sorry, monthly financials. Thank you.
Okay, so for the month of August, we had 2 donations from the same person actually for $2,000.
Wow.
We had 0 niche sales. We had 8 grave sales, $5,840. We had 3 second interments for $1,299. We had 3 casket interments for $1,623. 4 cremation interments for $1,516. 1 overtime fee of $598, and 7 liners or polyvaults for $2,811. No disinterments, no monument cleaning. We had 1 monument permit for $108, and we had 1 foundation setting for 191 went to the city and 133 went to the cemetery. There's no flower beds or flower boxes, and 1 monthly rent of $324 for a total of $14,443. And year to date, we have had 18 internments. And currently we are 16.7% through the calendar year,
Fiscal year.
or fiscal year, sorry. Any questions on any of that?
Any questions from anyone? Okay, thank you. Okay, now continuing on with new business. Any comments from staff?
The area that we're looking at putting this new storage facility will be located right next to our current mower shed. And that will require the removal of a pine tree. Krista, do you have that picture?
Yeah, let me just pull it up real quick.
The circle is where it's currently located, and the red rectangle right there will be the new location, the preferred new location. Mostly for security and convenience by moving it up there versus down below.
The size of this building?
That's 24 by 48.
So it's pretty much equivalent in size to the one to the west.
Yeah, right, correct. Roughly the same size as the ones there. You can see the pine tree that's to the north of that rectangle would be the one that we would have to remove.
Just a logistical question. I have to imagine that in the future, if this site, this area were to be relocated due to what's outlined in the strategic plan, these buildings, because they are metal buildings, could be disassembled and relocated along with them, with that.
Correct. Correct.
Any other comments from anyone? Okay. Thank you for the update. So for continuing business, Chris?
Alrighty. So for GIS, we are currently working with the county to figure out a way to fix a plot numbering issue. Some of the original surveys that were filed have different numbers than what we use now and list certain section as like section C when we call that section F. So we're working with them to try and figure out the easiest way to fix the discrepancy. We may have to have a surveyor come out though and take a look at a couple of the sections. They might have to write up something, saying previously this was called this, now it's called this. We also might have to have them map some of the new sections that we're designating for cremation only or above ground, since it might not match with the previously filed surveys. So we're working with them right now and the county surveyor to try and figure out the most cost effective and easiest way to go about this.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? Okay. And the wood chipper update?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that the wood chipper is awesome. It works very, very well. And it actually makes quite a bit smaller chips than the one that we've been borrowing previously. So I think that we're going to be able to use a lot of these chips in our tree wells and possibly flower beds and stuff too. So it'll save us money for purchasing mulch down the road as well, hopefully.
Okay. So the pine tree that's going to be coming out will be chipped?
I didn't quite catch that, Paul.
The pine tree that is planned to be removed for the new storage building?
Yeah, we can run it. If it's smaller than 9 inches, we can run it through our chipper.
All right. And then escrow update.
Alrighty, so we've been talking about different ways to kind of go about implementing the potential escrow system. We've run into a couple problems that we wanted to kind of get board input on. Some of the stuff that we're running up against though is potential loss of income over several years. So kind of a good example of this is back in 1911 to 1912, there was a family that purchased 56 graves. They've currently only used a handful of them, and there's still 32 unused graves. At the time that those graves were sold, they were sold for $12.50 a piece. Now those plots are worth $757. So the cemetery is potentially losing $23,000 on those plots. So as we do proceed with the escrow system, we want everyone to be aware that there could be a potential loss of income as prices increase over time. There's also an issue with the 80-year rule for these 32 plots is the fact that the last interment date that was part of this group purchase was in 1998. So anytime interment is done or an assignment is done on a group of plots, that restarts that 80-year rule. So those plots could potentially run for hundreds of years if one person keeps getting interned every few years. So that's something to kind of think about. And then if we do decide to proceed with the escrow system, are the fees going to follow the person or are they going to follow the plot? We oftentimes have people who bought a plot 20 years ago, never ended up using it, then their kids want to use it. So are those fees going to be, okay, so-and-so only paid for that, so you guys will have to pay for new fees, or, the parents bought it, paid the fees, and then we can transfer those to the kids. Also too, if after 80 years and the plot doesn't get used, do we also reabsorb any sort of fees that we charge? We'll probably need some ordinance changes to reflect that. And then what we would do about like if a person pays for a casket burial and then ends up getting a cremation, there's a price difference there. So down the road, if they end up going the other way where they paid for cremation and now they're paying for a casket, are we going to be refunding them the difference based on the price when they purchased it, or are we going to be refunding the difference for now? If they owe money, are we going to be charging based on the rate when they paid or now? And then, there also is always the cost of goods increasing that we also need to consider, because over time, the liners and the polyvaults and cost of labor is going to increase. So just some things for the board to be aware of and get your guys' feedback on.
Well, Chris, there was a lot there.
Information. And I can send it out in an email too, if that's helpful.
Hey, Carissa, one thing I think we should consider. So back in what you said, 1911 and 12.
Mhm.
So when that one person or family bought how many? 52 lots?
56.
56 at $12 a piece. I would be interested to know, what 56 times 12 is. And I mean, take a shot at what maybe an estimate for interest would be. Because we've had that money sitting, and I'm assuming gathering interest to some amount. That should be calculated in what our potential loss is by holding those graves for that long.
Mhm.
Although we've also had to maintain those sites over all these years, but I think it's a factor that should at least be considered. I mean, I don't think we made any money, and I'm sure if you factor in the maintenance costs, it's a losing proposition. But I think that's something we should consider.
Yeah, and one thing to consider too is that like right now, our fee schedule for the next couple of years is set to increase, I believe it's 3 or 4%. So right off the bat, a few years, that's 3% this year and 3% next year and so on for the next few years. That just right now we would also be losing it. I don't know if we would make that up in interest. I'm not sure what the rates would be on that.
Certainly not right now under current interest rates.
So is it possible for you guys to put together a proposal of what you're looking at so that it's something we can read in that? It's really hard. Some of you guys are really hard to hear on the computer and that, and I think this really needs a lot of thought and discussion to go into it.
Yeah, definitely. I can send you guys an email of kind of the stuff that we've run up against and points of interest and, see what you guys are thinking.
Yeah.
And just one other thought there. You mentioned, Krista, that the 80-year rule
Mhm.
came into effect what year?
I'm not sure when that was passed,
Okay.
but this particular group, their last internment was in 1998. So their 80-year rule starts over at that last internment. So for this particular scenario where we have these 32 plots, the 80 years starts over again from 1998. And if they do any more internments, then it's going to start it over again.
Okay. So that it's activated so long as, or reactivated so long as the ownership continues to be, someone continues to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely send out the email kind of, like I said, I know that was kind of a big information dump, but I have it all on a list, so I'll send you guys my list.
Yeah.
I know I've been in this discussion with Mary Ellen before and I just like to see everything down on paper to put some good thought into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks for that information. Okay. We whipped through the agenda pretty quickly. Is there anything else to be discussed before we lead to an adjournment? Jeremy, do you have anything?
Can I put something on the agenda for next month?
Yeah.
So we had a public meeting last night on the Scott Street project that's happening over there just to the south and east of the cemetery. And part of what we're doing there is looking at the master plan that was done for the North Reserve Scott Street area and talking about doing an update to that plan. So I think it would be good for the board to look at that update, that proposed update, and weigh in on it if you have any concerns. So I'll get that drawing out to you, and maybe we can have a discussion about it next month.
Great. Thank you. I think that's a great idea. The other one I'd like to add is it possible we could reach out to Elizabeth regarding the National Register nomination? the historic preservation officer, and just have her check in with us on a status update?
Yeah, we can, hey, Paul, Carissa can check in with her and we can give you an update.
Thank you.
And we'll invite her to the meeting if she wants, but just in case, we can get the information if she's not available.
All right. Is there, in terms, just one other question, just in terms of an update on looking at the land use as we kind of plan to make some changes in the ownership of the cemetery land or use of the cemetery lands on the east side of the site. It's kind of outlined in a strategic plan. Has that moved forward anymore? Is there any new information there?
I think this master plan update is relevant to that discussion. I think those two things are related because it contemplates how that land can be used and also how the cemetery is buffered.
Okay.
Did you talk earlier about the budget item for the architectural services?
No, not unless I missed it.
So that's another future agenda item, is to look at an RFP for those services. So trying to define the scope, what we're asking for, what we want to get out of it.
I'd be happy to help review that or assist in any way I can.
Yeah, we'll get a draft done and then we'll send that out to everybody.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, then we'll call for an adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And that's the end of the meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.